Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. Betsy Barbieux is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
And welcome to the April 2025 episode of CAM Matters. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. We are just this is Palm Sunday week. Next week is Easter. And the year's just gone by so fast. Got Betsy Barbieux here to talk about, questions and answers that you might have when it comes to community association living. Welcome, Betsy.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. And it's getting warmer and I like it.
You like that warm weather. That's
Thank you.
good. That's good. Betsy, you have been on the road, crazy, making appointments and meeting with people one-on-one. Can we just talk about kind of your schedule and what it is that you offer and how things are going?
Ooh, crazy.
That sums it up, right? Yeah.
With the new board certification training, I have crisscrossed all across the state of Florida doing private, customized board training. I still have my public classes in Leesburg and St. Augustine that are once a month. But then I have been getting requests from boards that are saying, can you come here and just work with us? And I have car will travel.
Is that because they have specific problems that are unique to what you cover? Or what's the reason that they want it private?
You know what the main problem is?
What's that?
Meetings.
Okay.
Board meetings. That's
Okay.
the main problem. And I try to cover all the other things that we're supposed to cover in the board certification class.
Yeah.
But honestly, I can easily spend 4 hours just on meetings and meeting procedures and developing agendas and owners' comments and how to set up policies for when and how they speak and make comments. The purpose of the meeting, I tell you, I'm on this mission, I guess you could say, to reset the industry as to what the real purpose of the meetings is and what the real purpose of the board is, because we have gotten so far off of what I believe the original intent of the legislators were. And it was, and mind you, I'm not a legislator and I don't get to peek inside any of their heads, but the way the meeting expectations and meeting processes and procedures have morphed cannot be the way that it was intended to be.
Right. Let's start with what is the number one issue that you deal with when you walk in? You go, yep, I knew that was going to be the first thing that comes up.
The first thing that comes up is the way the boards sit. They're sitting wrong.
Really?
Yeah.
Like physically sitting.
Mhm.
All right. Well,
Well, not like slumped over, but
I mean, the
you
way
know,
they're arranged.
but the tables are arranged incorrectly. They're sitting in a panel style, and they're then looking at the owners. And in all fairness to the owners, it looks like the meeting is for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a business meeting. It's not an informational meeting. This is not a time to quiz the board on all the who, what, when, where, why, how stuff. This is for the board to get its business done, which means they need to deal with contractors and contracts, maintenance issues, violation issues, policy issues, fines. They need to be dealing with those things and not owners saying, can we have a whatever,
Right.
osprey nest, perch? No, that's not what we're here to talk about.
So the owners are being invited in to observe and speak when the time's appropriate. But when you're set up that way, it makes it look like they're there to be entertained and to be answered to.
Yeah, and it does. And the other thing that we've lost the reality of is that this is the only kind of board meeting in the world where the members of a group come. Nowhere else in the business, corporate, social, civic, charitable world do members of those groups come to a board meeting. But oh Lord, we get to have them here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I go through an explanation in the class as to why I think that the legislators thought it was a good idea to let owners come to the meetings. But in some other states, members don't come to board meetings in a condominium.
Mhm.
And we've gotten used to thinking it's normal
Mhm.
to have them there, and it's not.
Mhm.
And then they've gotten used to thinking that they control the meeting, and they don't.
Right.
So, just trying to go back. I give my little history story like we did in season 1. I think
Mhm.
it was the first 2 or 3 shows. I
Let's
kind
recap
of
because that is vital. Yeah.
did that history lesson and and kind of reset as to why we even have all these laws and things here in Florida. So once the boards let me talk to them and take them back as to the real purpose of each of these things, like the agenda has to be so specific. We have to let the owners come. And now we have to let them speak. And, and the way you sit, once I go back and build that background and build that history, then they begin to realize, oh man, we've been doing all this wrong. No wonder we're getting shot at
Right.
at every board meeting.
Well, here's the thing. What you're saying is the very foundation of the meetings is getting off on the wrong foot, and then everything is kind of a domino effect from there, you know?
Right.
So, yeah, that's that's tough.
And you know what else I usually end up telling them sometime during the training? Do you remember the ham story?
I
The
do remember it, but I would love for you to repeat it because this was one show, maybe 6 seasons ago, and I think it needs to be repeated.
because they'll start saying, "Well, we've always done it this way. No, we don't do it that well. Ralph said, and then Sue told Ralph, and
Right.
Sally told Sue, who told Ralph, 10 years ago that this is the way we do it." And so I tell them the ham story, and it's probably in a show maybe 2 years ago
Okay.
that um, tells about a brand new, newly married couple and the new bride. She was so excited to cook Easter dinner for her husband and all the family, and he was watching her as she was preparing. I mean, it was gonna be a really good meal. She was going to have a fresh ham with a bone in it, and green beans and macaroni and cheese and cornbread and apple
All
pie,
works.
all kinds of good
Mhm.
stuff. So she was a good cook, so she was gonna have a nice dinner. So he's kinda hanging over her shoulder watching her prepare things, and she takes out this beautiful ham that has a bone in it, and she cuts off the end of the bone. And he's like, "Well, what was that for?" And, "What does it do to the ham? Does it make it taste really good? Does
Makes
it,
it sweeter or something, yeah. Yeah.
what does it
Mhm.
do? Does it unleash some,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing?" And she kinda pauses and says, "Well, I don't know. My mother did." And so he's waiting for his mother-in-law to come over for dinner so he can get her aside and talk with her in the kitchen. And he's saying, "Okay, give me the secret of cutting off the ham bone, because it is really a good ham, and your daughter, my new bride, has cooked a really good dinner, so tell me the secret." And she kind of pauses and says, "Well, my mother did." So grandma happened to have come to dinner, so he takes her aside and quizzes her with the same questions. And she goes, "Oh, goodness gracious. That ham wouldn't fit in the pan, so I cut the ends off." And
So
you know
interesting.
what?
Perfect
I've
analogies.
almost I've almost developed a, code word
Mm.
around the state. And, now other board members are looking at other board members when they start that.
Yeah.
"We've always done it," and they go, "Ham."
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And
That's
and
perfect.
and those who have heard my story get the message of, we've lost the purpose of why we do what we do,
Wow,
because
that's
it's always
powerful,
been done this way before, and it's
powerful.
time to stop. It's time to stop this foolishness at the meetings. Meetings shouldn't be more than an hour long, and half the things that are on your agendas don't need to be there.
Mm.
So, there's a better way. I just wanna make your life simpler.
Well, see,
There'll
I
be
love
pain
the
in the
point.
beginning. There'll be pain in the beginning as you make the changes. because you have to re-educate your children, your owners.
Yes. Let's take a quick break. I want to come back and take some practical steps of what board members are, as they're watching this, what are some things they can do to put in place right away that go, okay, we saw immediate change.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
Betsy, you've been talking about how much traveling you've been doing and helping boards in private meeting sessions, and that the number one issue that you're seeing are board meetings. And it starts with how they're seating, how the setup is. What are some very practical things that people who are on boards and even the owners maybe would be good for them to know? Give me 3 amazing tips that can be implemented right now that will help save, what are the typical questions and problems the boards are facing?
One of the first things that they can do is create policies for how and when owners speak during the meeting. And I would suggest that they have the owners sign up to speak to a specific agenda item, and that they have a specific place where they stand and come out of their
That's
seat
correct.
and come to the board and address the board, and give them 3 minutes and let them sit back down. But they need to be reminded these are comments. These are not questions.
Okay.
And the board needs to be very disciplined in not answering a question.
Well, you covered a lot in that one. Wait a minute.
That's okay,
You've
that's
got
one.
Yeah, that's it's loaded. Okay, so you've got them on a certain time, making a comment, not a question, and I mean, yeah, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. We've never really talked about having specific time. I guess I've just always thought, well, maybe there was a designated time, but for it to be a comment instead of a question, you're stopping a lot of issues there.
Yeah, and I'm suggesting to boards that if somebody comes up and starts asking you a question, that the chair should say, "Can you turn that into a comment, please?"
Oh.
And you just begin to re-educate that this is the idea of the comments is that the board will hear information from the owners before the board makes a decision on a matter that they have on their agenda. So it's not a Q&A and quizzing of the board. It's hearing the ideas of the owners, which come in the form of statements or comments. They don't come in the form of questions.
That's tremendous. Okay, tip number 2.
Tip number 2, this is gonna really tip the tables, but they need to rearrange the tables. They need to be sitting in a circle or a square with board members facing each other. They do not need to be facing the owners.
Are you
Now
saying perhaps backs to the owners even?
Yep. Yeah,
Woo!
absolutely. Absolutely. And there's gonna be "They're being rude." Well, move your chairs. Move your chairs. So, at least start sitting in a U or a V. This is a meeting for the board. Board members cannot talk with each other unless they can see their eyeballs. You can't talk to somebody if you can't see their eyeballs.
That's true.
And so the board members literally need to be able to get their elbows up on the table, get their writing stuff out, their notepads and stuff, and then be able to look around the table to see what everybody's feeling. If you're sitting in a panel style, I can't talk to anybody but the 2 people next to me. And I
Right.
certainly don't know what the people my board members on the end are thinking. And if I
Right.
have a 9-member board, goodness gracious, you're
Oh,
stretched
wow.
out for,
Yeah.
15 feet.
Yeah.
So
Very,
they
very
need to start moving those tables slightly. Now, as they're making these changes, they need to be telling the owners, like, it takes maybe a minute at the beginning of each meeting for the president to say, "We're beginning to make some changes, so bear with us. This is a board meeting, so we need to gather ourselves around so we can talk to each other."
Right. Right.
And so they need to have a minute or two of an educational comment at the beginning of the meetings. So, first of all, they need to create some policies for how and when owners make their comments and statements. Number 2, they need to sit correctly, which is in a square or a V or a horseshoe or a circle.
That's good. I especially about tip 2, I appreciate the communication.
Yeah,
Talk
they
to
need to communicate. They
let
need to
them know
educate.
things are changing, and you're coming along with us. We're holding our hand out saying, "We're not doing this in spite of you. We're not doing this to make you angry." We're saying, "Come on the journey with us as we continue to make these changes and communicate better."
Well, I can't imagine that anybody, whether it's a board member or an owner, who attends a disorganized, yelling and screaming and messy meeting enjoys that.
Right. Yeah. Tempers flaring and insults hurling and yeah. Okay, tip number 3.
Tip number 3 probably has to do with meeting procedures. As we are following Robert's Rules of Order for small boards, we don't follow the most formal procedures of Robert's Rules of Order. The main difference, well, there are 2 main differences, 3 main differences,
Okay.
in that the procedures for small boards suits us because it permits discussing an agenda item before there's a motion. And in Robert's Rules of Order, you can't even speak about a topic until somebody makes a motion. Well, in our case, we don't know if we need a motion or not because we haven't been able to all get together outside of the meeting to talk.
Right, sure.
So the Robert's Rules of Order for small boards allows conversation among the board members before a motion is made. The other distinction is that the president is a full participating member of the board. In other words, the president can make a motion, the president can do a second, the president can discuss.
Right.
Because the statute, we have to dovetail 2 things here, Robert's Rules of Order for small boards and the statute. The statute says that board members are fiduciaries, which means they have to vote.
Okay.
It's one of the many things it means.
Right.
And it also, the statute says that a vote of each board member present must be recorded in the minutes. So board presidents do vote and can make a motion. The other thing is that motions are used to move the business along. Motions are not personal. So anyone can make a motion on a topic. It's not just the person who might be the point person for that topic.
Okay.
Because a lot of times a board member will kind of be the hands-on person for that topic. We don't have to wait for that person to make a motion. Anybody can make a motion. And they're used to stop the conversation and proceed to voting. It also means, it's so cool. This first time I saw this done, it was weird. You can make a motion and vote against your own motion.
Okay, explain that.
Well, you can make a motion. It could be, Suzanne, that the discussion about the replacement of the pool heaters has gone on and on and on and on and on. And it's going to be a big amount of money. Any board member can say, well, I move that we spend $50,000 on a new heating system based on the bid from ABC. And if that board member gets a second, and so he'll poke his neighbor and say, give me a second.
Yeah.
And then when there's a vote, the board member who made the motion can vote no.
Okay. So they just wanted to stop the conversation.
Just wanted to stop the conversation and see who was serious about doing it. And if not, let's move on.
It's good. That's
so
good.
That to me is the coolest meeting procedure.
Yeah.
And it just stops that conversation, moves it
Yeah.
along, and let's go to
Keep
the
things
next agenda.
going. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Betsy, we're starting to wrap up, but just I know that you've got the Yes conference coming up in August. How do you stand with sponsors, and is there anything that we can do to encourage and move that into the next steps?
Well, the registration is open on the website. I'm gathering my facilitators, and I believe I have all my sponsors. I'm waiting for 2 more to come in. I'm kinda saving their spots for them, and if I don't hear from them soon, I'll open those 2 up, but I think I've got all my sponsors.
Betsy, we really appreciate everything that you do, and I want to give you the final word before we sign off today.
Be on the lookout for what Governor DeSantis is doing today with some condominium relief. I don't know exactly what the outcome will be, but I know he's having some conversations about trying to get relief to the um, condominiums that are hit so hard with the special assessments and the Sears um, assessments that are going on with the reserves. So be on the lookout for that. It seems to be in the news today, but not sure what the outcome is.
Okay. We'll follow up in the May episode. Thank you for joining us. As always, please be sure to rate the episode. Also share it. Let people know about Betsy. She's making such big changes and making a big difference when it comes to community association living. She loves you. She loves the community, and we appreciate. Thank you so much for consuming and being part of the show. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.